NoFap versus semen retention. Which one is better? Is there even a difference? What's the difference? What's the correlation? I'm going to answer those questions in this video so that you can know exactly what makes sense for you, where you're at in your own progression, and ultimately what you want from these practices in your own life. Let's get into it. Hi, my name is Nakula, and I help men master their S3X energy so you can become a powerhouse both in and outside the bedroom. Go to the link in the description below and take the free transmutation guide so you can get started on your journey to S3X mastery. So let's start off with NoFap since we're talking about S3X mastery. Well, that's where it all begins. So NoFap is defined differently from different people. So I've heard many guys on YouTube and read different articles, and everybody's got a kind of their own little definition, but there's some core things that definitely everyone agrees on. At its core, it's about avoiding dirty videos online. It's about avoiding pornography. It's about avoiding masturbation. Now, some people say that they still fap while doing NoFap, which makes no sense to me because it's called NoFap, all right? So don't do it. But again, people have taken different interpretations of what it means. Other people might say it's totally about avoiding PMO, which stands for porn, masturbation, and orgasm. And other people say, no, it's not really about that. It's just about the pornography itself. That only the porn and the masturbation, what's important, but I have a girlfriend, or I hook up with people, or I have a wife, and so I still orgasm. So no matter what it is that, no matter how people define it, you want to define it for yourself. But ultimately, at its core, I would say it's no pornography and no masturbation. Most people seem to agree on that and say that's definitely NoFap. So why would you do NoFap? Why would somebody want to do that? Because many guys will argue, I've literally had people on my own social medias and, oh, that's dumb, man, I love it. I had one guy literally sit down, I was in a meeting, and say, I have amazing S3X because I watch porn. I make the sheets wet, and all he was going on about how great he was in bed. And I was just like, all right, we good? That was it, right? So there's a lot of idiots out there who will just basically just talk about like how pornography is actually somehow enhancing their life. But here's what we know from NoFap. And the beauty about NoFap, let's say versus semen retention, even though I'm really on the semen retention camp, the beauty about NoFap is that it's based in very Western science. So it's very based upon how the body functions. We can measure the brain function that's happening when you're watching pornography and you're masturbating. So why should you do NoFap? I would say the essence of why anyone would want to do NoFap at a very basic level is to reverse the damage that pornography has done to your brain. Because pornography has damaged your brain, and if you don't think so, then just do a little bit of research and you'll find many, many articles and scientific research and papers to show the facts that porn is damaging. It is like a drug. It rewires your brain. It makes you more compulsive. And mainly it messes with your dopamine. And dopamine is the thing that's essentially responsible for how much motivation and joy that you can experience in your life, how motivated you are for things. So as your dopamine system gets numb and your receptors become dulled out from pornography, your whole life starts to feel numb. Playing video games just isn't as exciting. Even the same porn you watch isn't exciting. Now you got to go into the more harder stuff and the taboo stuff and the stuff that really is like, oh my gosh. Why? Because that's how dopamine's out you are in a way. That's how much you're just like rattled and rewired. And that's why we have so many people that are just in the world of fetishes and in the world of all of these things, because it's a dopamine issue. They're trying to get more and more out of life and they can't get it because they've essentially overused or damaged their dopamine receptors. So when you watch a movie, or you can't even keep your attention on something, you have to do 3 things at once. People are like, they're playing video games, scrolling on TikTok, doing this and other things. That's all dopamine. And pornography, especially if you start at a young age, really does a lot of damage in that place. So it makes also life itself seem like a horrible task list. Like, oh, I've got to do the dishes. I've got to clean the house. I've got to take the garbage out. We are actually wired to get enjoyment from these things because nature has set you up to succeed. Nature didn't mean for life to be this horrible task list that you feel you have to get through and grind through. If that's your mood, which I know I've lived a lot of my life in that mood, it really changes when you give up, not only pornography, but you regulate or eliminate the drugs and the alcohol and the gummies and the video games. All of a sudden, washing dishes seems to be like a cool thing now. Like a kid. You got to get this kid-like spirit. Kids like, oh my gosh, you're washing dishes? Let me wash the dishes with you. Kids are like lining up to wash the dishes. Get till about 12, 13, introduce all the video games and everything. And, what's to eat? I don't want to do anything. Like, you could just see the deterioration, and it's actually happening sooner and sooner in this age. So kids are now deteriorating at quicker levels. So in this illusion of advancement, our technology is advancing, but we, as the most technological advanced thing on the planet, this human body, we're degrading it through through basically destroying our dopamine system. So tedious tasks, things that, going to work, building a business, a lot of guys will come to me and say, I've got these dreams, I want to grow a business, and, I want to get into the best shape of my life, or I want to get a girlfriend, or I want to get married, or I've got to travel, all these things that you want to do. You start giving up on all of those things, and you settle for a life of being a couch potato and watching Netflix and essentially becoming overweight. There's this whole domino and trigger effect that ends up happening with the misuse of your S3X energy, pornography being at the crux of what's happening in our society. So basically, it really explains why so many people, especially men, are walking around in this semi-depressed state, full of anxiety, full of social anxiety, feeling incapable, feeling life is boring. This is all because of dopamine being messed up. And NoFap essentially gives you the opportunity to reset your body. The beauty about NoFap is that, and the beauty about your brain is that your brain wants to function at its highest. Your body's always pushing you to function at your highest. Nature wants you to be successful. It's in nature's best interest that you're successful. So therefore, when you practice NoFap, you allow your body to reset. You allow yourself to be rewired normally. You allow your dopamine levels to go back to normal. You allow those receptors and that damage to heal itself. And as you heal, then all of a sudden you'll notice the small things are exciting again. You're excited to watch the sunset. You don't even need stimulation. You could just sit there and feel blissed out, like the yogis and the mystics. And you think, how do they just sit there and be like, I'm good, I'm happy? It's because they're functioning at their highest levels. So they don't need to do anything. You're just the very nature of existence is blissful. And so I'm not saying you're going to get to those levels just by NoFap, but NoFap is the beginning of rewiring yourself. Now, NoFap is difficult because it's like going off a drug, so you will feel withdrawal symptoms. You may feel irritated. You might feel bored. There's a whole lot of challenges that comes with practicing NoFap. That's why there's so many support groups and guys talking about it. And just like the trainings we offer inside of our courses and trainings as well, we offer a ton of support. In fact, depending when this video comes out, we're about to, or we have just released, or maybe you're watching it a few years from now, whenever you release it, but we have a 30-day porn-free challenge. Make sure you connect with me. My links and my contacts in the description, and take our 30-day porn-free challenge, especially if you find that you are really in the porn watching mode. If that porn has really got a grip on your life, that's why you want to practice NoFap. Get porn out of your life. It is damaging. It is evil. And I don't use that word evil very often, but I'm telling you, porn will plain and simply fuck up your shit. And I want you to hear that in just as plain of language as you can, so you take it serious. Now, there's many other benefits of doing NoFap, but this is where we start to now kind of pour into the world of semen retention. So NoFap, again, why I like NoFap is because it talks very in a biological terms. It can be measured. There's a ton of science behind it. When we go into semen retention, there is scientific papers behind it, but we also start now going into the world of energy or esoteric concepts. We start going into things that are not necessarily easily proven because they're happening at the subtle level, but definitely guys experience the result. And we can see how many men are talking about semen retention, and not just crazy, weird guys like me, but like mainstream guys. Like, we've got rappers talking about semen retention. We've got athletes talking about semen retention. We've got UFC fighters talking about semen retention. Steve Jobs, just to name a few. So these guys are bringing tons of credibility, and we know that lots have been written about it in esoteric knowledge. So we look at the Taoist system. Semen retention is a massive part of alchemy and retraining your body and reaching heightened states of consciousness. We look at the Hindu or the yogic system, tons about semen retention. The Ayurvedic system, tons about semen retention. When we go into Egyptian alchemy and sexology, semen retention is there. When we go into mystic forms of Christianity, the ideas of celibacy and transcending sex is there. So we could see that semen retention has been talked about in a lot of different cultures independently, and they've all seemed to reach the similar or the same conclusion, which is that there is a correlation between our semen and our life force and how we use that energy, which determines how high up the vibrational scale or consciousness that we can attain. So semen retention is about recirculating that energy. So it's definitely PM and the O, which is no ejaculation. Orgasm, though, in the world of semen retention or alchemy is defined differently. So in my world, orgasm and ejaculation are not the same thing. Through the practices of alchemy, you actually learn to separate orgasm. Orgasm is the pulsation of energy that happens when you reach your sexual height. As a man, most men orgasm and ejaculate at the same time, and they believe it to be the same function because their orgasm is happening in their lower base energy centers, or essentially in their genitals, which makes them ejaculate. So they've correlated as the same. But actually, an orgasm is a pulsation of energy that can happen all over the body. In fact, through the practice of alchemy, you can experience non-ejaculatory orgasms, full body orgasms that last longer, are blissful, and ultimately charge the body up. Because there's no physical ejaculation, you also aren't releasing prolactin and testosterone stifling substances into your body. Now, it doesn't mean you never ejaculate again, but again, you start to regulate it through the process of semen retention. And again, there's been tons of writings about this, especially in more ancient cultures. The Greeks and the Romans believed that ejaculation would actually drain your life force and energy. Of course, the yogis said the same things. The Taoists said the same things. And I know I've mentioned this guy a ton on this challenge. The famous Napoleon Hill wrote about it in his famous book, Think and Grow Rich, chapter 11, The Secrets of Sex Transmutation. So there's a ton to go on about semen retention and its benefits at a biological, physical, emotional, and spiritual level. This whole channel is essentially dedicated to the lifestyle and practices of alchemy and semen retention. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, you get notified on the videos, and go check out. There's so many videos I've created on this channel that can teach you tons more about semen retention. So NoFap versus semen retention. NoFap to me is the base. It's the start. Stop watching pornography. If you're watching pornography, stop it. And And if you need help stopping, then reach out to me, connect, take our 30-day porn-free challenge. And this is a 30-day training program, help to rewire your brain and keep you away from pornography. We also are going to hold you accountable, and you're going to get our support group as well. So you get a ton of support to be able to leave that world behind. The next step is then semen retention, where you learn to draw that energy you're creating up through NoFap, through retention, and you learn to regulate your ejaculation. You learn to have non-ejaculatory sex, non-ejaculatory orgasms, and ultimately you go to the next level, which is then using that energy as described in Think and Grow Rich to be able to actually magnetize your aura and attract things into your life, be able to use that lust instead of going after porn and going after women all day long. Now you're going after your goals. You're getting into peak shape. You're putting yourself at high levels of energy. You're learning to attract. You're learning to focus your mind, and you're developing your cognitive function and intellectual ability to take your life to the next level. I've got a system and process called the Powerhouse Man Training that takes you right up the ranks of a semen retention practitioner so that you can become an alchemist and learn to create the life you want. If you want to train with me or you want to learn more, go to the description, book some time on my schedule, and let's connect. I'll see you on the next video.